Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. I am the Divine One and I'm bringing you yet another assortment. Ladies, gentlemen, and everyone in between, welcome back to the channel. Today, we got a lot to discuss. But as always, there will be no fluff, no sugarcoating, and no hand-holding. Today's topic, the unholy union of Elon Musk and Donald Trump, the 2024 election, and this country's slow descent into billionaire fuel chaos. Musk spent $277 million to back Trump and his Republican allies, and now he's acting like the president-elect while Donald Trump is, I don't know, he looking like, I don't know what the thing was on his hand. Only other time I seen that type of spot was on Queen Elizabeth before she went to the pearly gates, but that's neither here nor there. From budget shutdowns to pork barrel deals and Tesla trucks that are just as dysfunctional as our government, we've got a lot to unpack. So the question of the day is Musk running the country? Is Trump the puppet, or is he just the face of this circus? Grab your snacks, your tea, and well, I'll be having me a little Chardonnay, and your notebooks. This one is about to get real. Let's go.
Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
Well, Andrew, we're not anywhere close to having a solution here. I mean, Republican lawmakers, they still haven't found that plan B to keep the government from shutting down on Friday night. And, Trump's opposition to the bill, it came after Elon Musk basically tweeted all day and then finally threatened lawmakers that he'll work to oust any Republican who supported the bipartisan stopgap. He slammed it for billions of dollars in additional spending. And yet, then we saw Trump, not to mention, of course, lawmakers from states devastated by hurricanes, come out and say that billions are needed for disaster relief as well as assistance for farmers. And to further complicate matters, Trump is now calling for lawmakers to find a way to increase the debt limit before he takes office. He posted on Truth Social that to bring the mess of the debt limit into the Trump administration, rather than allowing it to take place in the Biden administration, any Republican would be so stupid as to do this should and will be primaried. And guys, of course, in the past, negotiating the debt limit has taken months. And now lawmakers are trying to find a solution before Saturday at midnight, or millions of government employees could go without pay during the holidays, and key government services could begin to shut down or just simply not be as productive and efficient as they normally are.
Republicans are finding out the hard way right now that maybe voting for Trump wasn't such a good idea, and here's why. It's actually hilarious seeing Republicans start to second-guess their vote for Trump now that they're realizing that they didn't just vote for Trump, they voted for co-president Elon Musk as well. Republicans love the idea of voting for Trump because they thought he was going to lower taxes and make groceries more affordable. But now people are slowly but surely finding out the hard way that Trump's tax plan is actually going to raise taxes for everybody except the ultra-wealthy, such as guys like himself and Elon Musk. Nobody voted for Elon Musk, and yet now the entire Republican Party is obeying his every command, and they're about to shut the government down because Elon Musk doesn't want the government to do any work until Trump is in office. That's right, Congress came together to pass normal resolutions to continue funding our government and to prevent a government shutdown. Elon Musk, who became $200 billion richer since the election, has objected. So are Republicans serving the needs of the American people or Elon Musk? This is not what a republic looks like. This is what an oligarchy looks like, full stop.
House Republicans have now unilaterally decided to break a bipartisan agreement that they made. House Republicans have been ordered to shut down the government and hurt everyday Americans all across this country. House Republicans will now own any harm that is visited upon the American people that results from a government shutdown or worse.
We have some major breaking news. Republicans are now calling for Elon Musk to be made Speaker of the House. Earlier today, Republican Senator Rand Paul tweeted out, quote, "The Speaker of the House need not be a member of Congress," which is true. Nothing would disrupt the swamp more than electing Elon Musk. Think about it. Nothing's impossible, not to mention the joy at seeing the collective establishment, aka Uni Party, lose their ever-loving minds. And he's serious. He thinks it would be a good idea to make Elon Musk the Speaker of the House, one of the most powerful political positions in America. Now, this is a problem for a number of reasons. I find it funny that he's calling this move anti-establishment. Like, Elon Musk is the richest person in the world. How much more establishment do you get? But also, number two, what? Are we just going to start handing out powerful government positions to rich people just because they support us? Elon Musk has never been elected to anything. And Republicans are saying, yeah, just throw him in there. It'll go great. I mean, what's wrong with them? It's so strange. It's so weird. We should elect people who don't do things like this.
Hey guys, I want you to listen to this very carefully.
President-elect Donald Trump's election win has been extremely profitable for Elon Musk, whose net worth has grown by $276 billion since November 5th. Steve, what are you looking at?
So not only is Elon Musk maybe the second or even the first most powerful man in Washington, he's also the richest man in the world. Musk has Tesla shares, he's got SpaceX, he's got Tesla options, which are just another piece of this puzzle. And then he's got a bunch of stuff that looks pretty small here, but it's $7 billion, it's $13 billion, it's $25 billion in OpenAI, in X, as we know, in some futuristic things called the Boring Company and Neuralink, all of which have gone up enormously in value. And so, as you said in your lead-in, what's happened? His net worth has gone up 135% since the election, $276 billion. He's now worth $480 billion, the wealthiest man in the world, half of that roughly since the election alone.
And Steve, you mentioned this with SpaceX and NASA, but conflicts of interest really concern a lot of people. If he is running this so-called Doge agency, could he not have the power to say, pull federal funding or pull federal contracts from a competing EV company, for example?
Yeah, this is sort of so far off the fairway, you're never even going to find this ball.
Yeah.
When you work in the government, and I did this, you are subject to rigid conflict of interest rules. You are required to divest yourself of anything that could prove a conflict in your work for the government. Obviously, he's not going to divest all this stuff. He's not even a government employee, which is a whole nother legal question as to what he can or should be doing. And so this is another classic example of kind of the swamp coming to Washington, and Trump and his people doing whatever they feel like, regardless of what's appropriate, regardless of what even the law is in some cases, perhaps.
I wrote a book, and it's right here. It's called The Man Who Sold America. It actually did pretty well, the New York Times bestseller. Maybe the sequel to the book should be called The Man Who Sold America to Elon Musk. Because apparently, that's what Donald Trump did. Good luck out there.
Democrats, listen to this. A bipartisan bill was passed in Congress until President-elect Musk declared it to be a terrible deal and posted on X that the Speaker, Mike Johnson, should be fired for agreeing to such terrible deal. Advised by Musk, Vice President Trump told the MAGA Republicans to scrap the bill and let the government shut down. The bill included money for hurricane relief, senior citizens, the disabled, veterans, men in uniform, and money to help overall American people. All right? It was scrapped. Trump and Musk need to be stopped. They are turning their victory into a shit show. My question is this, Americans. Who is really the president-elect? We all know Elon Musk bought Trump and this election. But the biggest question is, did he manipulate the results to win? All right? How many of you think Elon Musk is the biggest threat to our democracy? How many of you? And should be deported? Please comment below. You guys have a nice day.
President-elect Donald Trump's election win has been extremely profitable for Elon Musk, whose net worth has grown by $276 billion since November 5th. Steve, what are you looking at?
So not only is Elon Musk maybe the second or even the first most powerful man in Washington, he's also the richest man in the world. Musk has Tesla shares, he's got SpaceX, he's got Tesla options, which are just another piece of this puzzle. And then he's got a bunch of stuff that looks pretty small here, but it's $7 billion, it's $13 billion, it's $25 billion in OpenAI, in X, as we know, in some futuristic things called the Boring Company and Neuralink, all of which have gone up enormously in value. And so, as you said in your lead-in, what's happened? His net worth has gone up 135% since the election, $276 billion. He's now worth $480 billion, the wealthiest man in the world, half of that roughly since the election alone.
And Steve, you mentioned this with SpaceX and NASA, but conflicts of interest really concern a lot of people. If he is running this so-called Doge agency, could he not have the power to say, pull federal funding or pull federal contracts from a competing EV company, for example? Yeah,
this is sort of so far off the fairway, you're never even going to find this ball.
Yeah.
I mean, when you work in the government, and I did this, you are subject to rigid conflict of interest rules. You are required to divest yourself of anything that could prove a conflict in your work for the government. Obviously, he's not going to divest all this stuff. He's not even a government employee, which is a whole nother legal question as to what he can or should be doing. And so this is another classic example of kind of the swamp coming to Washington, and Trump and his people doing whatever they feel like, regardless of what's appropriate, regardless of what even the law is in some cases, perhaps.
If you're looking at those tweets, does Musk have too much influence?
No, I don't think so. I think this is exactly what the American people voted for when they voted.
That was Republican Congressman Andy Barr. Did you vote for Elon Musk to be effectively the president of the United States? Is that what you voted for? I didn't think so. But that's what we have right now, because Donald Trump, who people voted for because they thought he was a strong man, he was an alpha, you know what? He's really a beta. Here's why. Looks like we're going to have a government shutdown, which Donald Trump didn't want until Elon Musk said, oh yeah, we're going to have a government shutdown. And then he said, okay, we're going to have a government shutdown. Is that what an alpha male does? No, that's what a beta male does. Elon Musk, world's richest man, says we need to do something. We better do it. And this beta male behavior repeats a pattern that happened with Putin in Helsinki. Remember that meeting? Trump's head down, voice all soft. Oh, I've got to believe Vladimir. He says it. It must be true. Very embarrassing. But Trump understands where he is on the pecking order. He's not a real dictator. He's a wannabe dictator, hence his deference to Putin. He's a rich guy, but he's not the world's richest guy, hence his deference to Elon Musk. So yeah, he'll pick on Justin Trudeau of Canada, but Putin, Musk, no, they're too big. Trump is kind of like the Wizard of Oz. He's all strong, all powerful when it doesn't count. But when it comes to the perceived big boys in his mind, Putin, Elon Musk, you know what? Trump is just a mouse. And people who voted for him, yeah, they voted for a mouse.
At this point, somebody has to ask the obvious. Did Elon Musk effectively pay $300 million to the Trump administration to co-opt the federal government? Because right now, the line between billionaire influence and actual governance is blurrier than ever. So will the real president-elect please stand up? Is it Donald Trump? Is it J.D. Vance? Is it Elon Musk? Or maybe it's the Easter Bunny? Or maybe it's just the loudest voice on Twitter at 4 a.m., sending 70 tweets like a psycho. Let's talk facts. Campaign finance records figures from the 2024 election show Musk spent over $277 million, making him the largest donor to either party. Most of it went through his America PAC, but he also funneled $20.5 million into the misleadingly named RBG PAC, using the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg's name to push Trump's anti-abortion agenda, a disgusting affront to her legacy. If money talks, then Musk is screaming, and it seems Donald Trump and the rest of the Republican Party are all ears. That's all they're hearing. Back to this so-called government, Republicans are at it again, and I know the Republicans think they're playing chicken, but it looks more to me like they're playing Russian roulette with the federal budget, but I digress. Instead of functional governance, what we're seeing is performance, an omnibus pork fest disguised as fiscal responsibility. It's a perennial game. No budget, just stopgap measures and continued resolutions. Why? Because they realize they can extract more pork barrel spending during this manufactured crisis. Now let's talk about this budget mess, because it is messy. They waited until the last minute to bargain, and instead of a proper budget, we're left with this half-baked omnibus deal. Everyone's got their hands in the pork trough, while Trump, rocking his state trooper driver pull over and have your license and vehicle registration as haircut, decides to torpedo the whole thing. Moving right along. But why did Trump decide to torpedo this deal? Allegedly, Musk said so on Twitter I do believe it was in between his 4 a.m. tweet storm where he sent out 70 messages. Seriously, who's still on Twitter? I'm on Blue Sky enjoying peace and tranquility without the trailer park theatrics and drama. The dysfunction isn't new. The only time Republicans successfully passed a budget is when they control the presidency, Congress, and Senate simultaneously. Otherwise, it's chaos, exacerbated by bad actors like Trump, who, despite not yet being inaugurated, torpedoed the budgetary deal just for show. Why? To frame himself as the savior against Biden's supposed failures? It's a time script, but unfortunately, it plays to the base. That same base in North Carolina that voted for him needs this budget to pass so they can get the monies they need from FEMA to rebuild. North Carolina isn't alone. All of those farmers that voted for Donald Trump at 70%, they also would be impacted by the lack of farm subsidies that they receive. Countless other groups, the people who depend on Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, active duty military personnel, as well as veterans, all of which whose funds would be impacted by a government shutdown just in time for Christmas. So while Elon Musk is doing everything but fixing those Cybertruck, Donald Trump has not been sworn in as president, and Joe Biden is still president. So it's very perplexing as to who is in charge here. But one thing is for certain is that Elon Musk and Donald Trump both made a miscalculation. See, they interjected themselves into this budgetary discussion, making all of these threats and pronouncements, thinking that Joe Biden and the Democrats would get the blame for any budgetary negotiation failure. They still have not learned from history, well, probably because they're working so hard to not teach it in school. But I'm the divine one, so you know I don't mind going back down memory lane. So let's talk about some history regarding federal government shutdowns in the U.S. Since 1976, the United States has experienced 22 federal government shutdowns. These shutdowns occur when Congress fails to pass appropriation bills or continuing resolutions to fund federal agencies and programs. And I'm a trender. I look at trends. So the trends that I observed here is that shutdowns often occur during divided government, when one party controlled the presidency and another controlled at least one chamber of Congress. Disputes have often revolved around significant political disagreements. Examples would be abortion, healthcare, and border security, in which the border security, the border wall. So let's take a little look at the three most recent shutdowns, okay? So in 1995 to 1996, during that shutdown regarding President Clinton versus Speaker of the House Gingrich, the issue was over Medicare, education, and other spendings. What were the ramifications? It strengthened Bill Clinton's public image as a defender of social programs, and it damaged Speaker Newt Gingrich and the Republican Party's image, with voters blaming Republicans more than Democrats. What did that do? It helped Clinton secure re-election in 1996. Here's another one. In 2013, that shutdown was between Obama versus the GOP House. The issue was the funding for the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare. And what were the ramifications? It damaged Republican Party's public image, with polls showing most Americans blame Republicans. It solidified Obama's Trump's position and the survival of the Affordable Care Act, and it highlighted growing divisions within the GOP between moderates and the Tea Party faction. And the most recent one was the 2018 to 2019 shutdown of the Trump administration. What was the issue? It was border wall funding. And what were the ramifications? A prolonged 35-day shutdown. It was the longest in recorded history and severely impacted federal workers and the economy. It damaged Donald Trump's approval ratings as most Americans blamed him for the shutdown. It strengthened the Democratic Party, which had just regained control of the House in 2018. And it highlighted divisions again within the GOP and increasing polarization. But remember, I said, the divine one, yes me, that I like trends. So I'm going to talk about the general trends and political ramifications as it relates to government shutdowns. Okay, so with any negotiations, you can expect an impasse. That's logical and it's expected. But you also have to consider the ramifications. First and foremost, public backlash. Shutdowns often lead to frustration with Congress and government leaders, disproportionately affecting the party seen as responsible for initiating the government shutdown. Polarization. The prolonged dispute deepens partisan divides, making future negotiations more challenging. Strengthening or weakening leadership. Presidents or party leaders can emerge stronger if they are seen as defending popular programs or principles. A good example of that would be Clinton in '95. Conversely, they can be weakened if blamed for the shutdown. Donald Trump in 2018. Shutdowns frequently influence subsequent election, shaping voter perceptions of leadership and party priorities. So to summarize, each shutdown serves as a barometer of political dysfunction, with the public often punishing those perceived as prioritizing ideology over governance. Let's talk about Trump's latest pivot. He now wants to increase the debt ceiling. Yes, you heard that right. The same Trump whose opposition to raising the ceiling led to the ousting of Kevin McCarthy as Speaker of the House. Remember when they had like 18, 19 votes for him to become Speaker in the first place? They ousted him. Now, Trump is singing the different tune. Remember, McCarthy was pushed out for daring to strike a deal that went over the debt ceiling threshold, a move that Trump himself opposed. Now Trump wants to make it rain and raise the ceiling like he's hosting a Mar-a-Lago gala. The hypocrisy is deafening, but are we surprised at this point? Now, McCarthy's political demise was a spectacle orchestrated by Trump loyalists who tore him down for compromising with the Democrats. Yet here we are with Trump advocating for the very thing that got McCarthy booted. Trust me, no one protected Trump more than Kevin McCarthy did after the attempted coup d'etat on January 6th, the Capitol riot, and Trump allegedly orchestrating everything, allegedly, because you know how he's suing now, like a little biatch. Sidebar, you'll have to forgive me as I dance this jig of glee at the political demise of Kevin McCarthy, and I'm sure I'll be dancing the tarantella when Elon Musk's relevance is diminished, his finances impacted, and he is as socially welcomed as a herpes lip cold sore, because everyone that defends this man, Donald Trump, everyone that supports this man, Donald Trump, everyone who conspires with this man, Donald Trump, against democracy, against just normal order, they end up like Kevin McCarthy, okay? So I'm sorry, but the song says those tables turn, the tables will turn. Anywho, it's just another episode in the ongoing reality show where Trump changes the rules mid-game and everyone else scrambles to keep up. I have a question about this government shutdown, but they don't have a continuing resolution or a budget. The government will shut down, which means no social security checks, military people aren't being paid, federal employees aren't being paid, and this is right before the Christmas holiday. If the government shuts down, does that mean there is no inauguration for Donald Trump? Does that mean the new Congress can't get sworn in because the government is shut down? Just food for thought, but who's really surprised? Look at Trump's cabinet. Billionaires with more ego than competence. And why does Elon Musk have so much to say about budget negotiations but mum's a word on those fiber trucks catching fire? Musk, for all his wealth, is a glorified hype man. Doesn't Elon Musk have enough to worry about? Tesla Cybertruck recalls, freezing batteries, and that ill-fated Tesla robot whose sales are worse than ideal? Elon's record is full of half-baked ventures, but let's let him run U.S. policy for $300 million. But who's truly the power behind the throne? Musk allegedly threatened to primary Any Republican who doesn't bow to Trump, and now Rand Paul is out here suggesting Musk as Speaker of the House, let that sink in. A man who tweets like an over-caffeinated conspiracy theorist at dawn is being positioned for one of the highest roles in government, and no one elected him. Musk's recent comments that Congress should only represent the rich because they pay for everything expose the myth that billionaires think they're untouchable because we let them. Now, they're running scared right now that United Healthcare CEO being sent to take his third nap by Luigi. I would hope that it would not have to get to too many acts of violence, but you're pushing a lot of people up against the wall. To be quite frank, it's well past time for term limits for members of Congress and bans on candidates with ongoing criminal cases and fixing the electoral system. While Republicans spiral into chaos, where are the Democrats? The silence is deafening. Instead of seizing opportunities to reform the Electoral College or address gerrymandering during their periods of control of the U.S. Congress, they squandered their chances. And let's not forget Speaker Pelosi, who clung to power for far longer than she promised. Speaker Pelosi, when she first became Speaker, made a deal with the Progressive Caucus that she would only be Speaker for that one term. The problem with Democrats is clear. They start in the middle when negotiating with Republicans and capitulate further right. They perpetuate the illusion that there are sensible Republicans to work with, all in the spirit of bipartisan, and yet we continue to get conservative agendas at the expense of what Democrats are supposed to believe and fight for. Meanwhile, in truth, the GOP is nothing more than a pay-to-play operation. Just ask Rand Paul, Ted Cruz, Mike Johnson, Marco Rubio, Kevin McCarthy, or Donald Trump. The price tags are visible for all to see. Republicans are sabotaging the very social programs their base relies on. How will they get their food stamps or Medicare benefits? Let's not forget, white Americans make up the majority of food stamp recipients, yet the GOP rails against these programs as if they only benefit Black people and people of color. Musk claims no bills should be passed until Trump is sworn in. And I believe Musk shouldn't be allowed to sell any additional Tesla vehicles until it's such time as he can determine why the Tesla trucks keep catching on fire, but that's neither here nor there. This isn't governance, it's extortion. Although Democrats could counteract this madness, I would understand if Democrats said pause, if they said we're entering our rest era, like Black women did, and allowed these people to get exactly what they voted for. Kamala is worse. These voters weighed the information they received and used logic and reason when they cast their votes, right? Let's ask the leopards. Let's ask the leopards. I see a leopard roaming about. Let's ask the leopards if they did their research. I'm being facetious. I doubt if they even consulted the magic 8-ball at this point. The same MAGA voters cheering for tariffs under Trump are about to face the consequences. Job losses are piling up. Inflation is squeezing households. A lot of people are getting laid off. A lot of people aren't getting those Christmas bonuses. And economic illiteracy reigns supreme. And TikTok, its January 19 ban looms large. And while it's been a haven for creatives, its silence on political matters has only emboldened its opposition. Ultimately, this isn't about Musk or Trump individually. It's about a system where billionaires like Musk wield disproportionate power and where voters, like the MAGA and Trump voters, fail to hold leaders accountable. If people want real change, they need to hit these billionaires where it hurts, their wallet. Stop buying their products and vote with a purpose. And that voting purpose should never involve intentionally voting against someone else's interests with the express purpose of hurting them, but yet focusing on what policies and whose policies will benefit you. That way, you're not out here marching like the Palestinian groups are marching or the Latino immigrant groups and marching and demanding that Joe Biden do something when they could have did a different thing on November 4th, or planning silly marches like white women are doing for January 18th when they should have been marching to the polls on November 4th in their right minds voting for Kamala, but it's too late for that. I see there isn't anything planned on or after January 20th. If you only protest when it's safe for you to protest, you're kind of cowardly. Either way, nothing has changed regarding Black people's stand. We are on social change sabbatical, okay? We are on protest marching vacation, okay? So as we stumble toward January 20th, one question remains. Will Elon Musk or Donald Trump be sworn in? Either way, we've reached the find out stage. The next stop is the I told you so ramp. Welcome to the future. The leopards are feasting on faces, okay? They are absolutely gorging right now. And there is no need to be acting surprised. If someone went up to a rattlesnake to try and pet the rattlesnake and the rattlesnake bit him and that person died, was the snake wrong for doing what the snake is supposed to do? No, exactly. Same thing applies here. As for me, I'll be sipping a mimosa on January 20th, watching the drama unfold, because what else can you do when the government's turned into a big tent circus act, complete with an orange hippo? But will the circus ringmaster allow him to perform? It remains to be seen. Well, it looks like our time is up. I thank you for making the time to go through it to the end with me. Like, share, and subscribe, please, and thank you.